everybody. Welcome to the Wikia Book Club chat with Leigh Bardugo. The Wikia Book Club read this month's Shadow and Bone. One of the things I love about both books and what totally sucked me into Shadow and Bone in the first place was that you set the books in this like extremely romantic Tsarist Russia inspired landscape that's filled with keftas and onion dome palaces. What was your inspiration for Ravka?
When I got to the world building part of this, I knew I didn't want to go the medieval Europe route. I mean, some of my favorite things. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. Everybody who follows me on Tumblr knows that. And I love a lot of those fantasies, but I wanted to take readers someplace different. I feel like people have done a really great job of that, and I wanted to go someplace new. Even if you don't know anything about Russian history, you still have these very strong associations with it. So you still have these very powerful images of great beauty, like the Winter Palace or ballet or St. Petersburg. But at the same time, you have these terrible images of brutality, like the Gulag and breadlines. So that's really where the inspiration came from. And I wanted the time period that I was referencing to be different too. Again, medieval is usually the way fantasies lie, because there's this kind of idea of, once you bring a gun to a magic fight, things end very quickly for one or the other person. And I wanted a world where modern warfare, or the advent of modern warfare, was going to be an issue.
I wanted to ask about Alina. It's such a sense of responsibility when you're a female author to write incredibly complex and representative women.
There's been a lot of really great writing about this lately. There's been writing about the overuse of the word Mary Sue, about the way that people judge YA heroines so harshly because there's this idea that somehow they should always be role models or exemplars. And I think maybe the worst thing you can do, both in terms of creating a story and in terms of creating a compelling characters, is to try to create somebody aspirational, where the message is more important than a character. With Alina, I wanted to create somebody who had spent her entire life being powerless. She's not just because of, her gender is a part of it, but more significantly, her class is a part of it. I wanted that to be a major part of who she was, and a major part of her struggle to use her power. Like, I love Buffy, but Buffy sort of takes the role of the chosen one, and she sort of embraces being, a badass almost immediately. And I wanted Alina to fight with that, because I think a lot of people spend their time, maybe too much of their time and their energy, sort of denying who they are and what kind of potential they have.
Well, I have our user question here, and I'm gonna bring up Jessica.
Hello. My question was covers. I'm addicted to covers. How much input did you get to do for both books, actually?
It was important to me that there be some element of the world present in the cover. Like, I wanted us to give a signpost that this is not, this is not a medieval England fantasy type world. And I pushed pretty hard for that. But beyond that, I really had little say. And that's true for most first-time authors. Shadow and Bone was my first book, and we do not get a lot of say.
I wanted to talk about the men a little bit. First of all, do you have a preference? Are you Team Darkling, Team Mal?
I am not Team Darkling. I am not Team Mal. I am not Team Stormhand. I am not even Team Alina. I'm Team Story. And I have to be.
Okay.
Like, when I'm writing a particular scene, I may be on that character's side, but or into that character in that moment. But you never know who you're gonna have to kill off, so you really can't afford to get too attached.
We have another user question here, another viewer named Frishon, and I'm gonna bring her up.
What was a pet peeve that you have about other authors that you decided in your books you weren't gonna do?
I hate it when in a story somebody will be like, there's something you need to know, but we're not going to tell you what you need to know. You have to find out for yourself. What that signals to me is that person was like, I don't have enough story for 2 books, so I'm just going to make this, I'm not going to give you the information, and I'm going to draw it out over this much. So when I write a book, I do my best to sort of blow the doors off. I try to put as much plot in it as I can, and as much conflict in it as I can, and trust that I'll have someplace new to take it in the next one. Like, this book I want this book to be as epic as possible, and I'll find someplace more epic to take the next one.
I wanted to understand, like, sort of where you kind of came up with the idea of this special class and how you sort of determine what the powers should be.
The whole idea of the small science was inspired. There was a movie, like, I don't know, I want to say it was like 10 years ago, like maybe 12 years ago, called Minority Report. And I had an argument with a bunch of my friends afterwards, and sort of it got me thinking about like when you look at magic or things that look like magic, you know, like mind reading looks like magic, presented in this very scientific or pseudoscientific way. And my thought was, you know, that you know, what would magic look like if not just that you wave a wand or you speak a curse, like what physically is happening when you do those things. And the small science is basically like a magical version of molecular chemistry. It's the manipulation of matter at its smallest level. So that, you know, you don't just create fire, you summon combustible gases and then use a flint to create fire. And again, I always like playing with what technology, like the effect of new technology, effect on power. The weird thing was, I had never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I had never seen Korra, and then when I did, I was like, son of a, what the dang it, you know, I was like, okay. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of those shows, and I know Mike and stuff, and even he said that he got a lot of the inspiration for the show from Full Metal Alchemist, and like these are sort of old ideas about magic and power. But I tried my best to keep them interesting and to sort of, again, as the series progressed, I sort of had a chance to play with them.
Okay, I have another user who is stepping up.
Oh my god! I know who this is. I feel like I know you from Tumblr, yeah?
You said there was going to be a fourth attractive guy in the third book. And since you already have, like, the dark brooding one, the kind of guy next door type of thing, and Stormrun is, like, this sassy privateer, like, what sort of attractive is a fourth guy going to be?
I made that comment in an interview. It was like a joke. I was basically playing with Wendy Darling. We were at cocktails, and there is not a fourth main guy coming your way in this book. There are new male characters, but I would not describe any of them as a potential love interest. So that is a myth that I'm putting to rest right now. That said, I'm working on a new book that has many different guys. So so you'll have to see if you like any of them. And I'm not sure which archetypes they fulfill.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the supplementary stuff that comes out.
I can tell you that when I wrote the story for Tor, initially they had wanted a prequel, and I did not want to write a prequel. I mean, there's a prologue and an epilogue. I just sort of like the idea of telling folk tales that could be the kind of thing that like Mal and Alina would have heard at the orphanage.
Right.
I kind of wanted to broaden the world in the sense of like that there's, you know, every world has its mythology. It has its stories and it has its religions, and I wanted a chance to kind of dip into that. And it also gave me a chance to kind of do these like The Witch of Buz is this kind of basically a very loose retelling of Hansel and Gretel, and to sort of take other stories and put them in the context of a world that has a very different history. I love doing them, but there's always a part of me that's like, you know, like, am I tampering with the timeline in some fundamental way? I think we live in an age where readers really want a lot of content. They want as much content as they can get. If I like a world, I want everything associated with it. So to me, it's flattering that people seek those things out. But I also think, you know, that's one of the reasons that I love when people write. I don't read fanfic. I probably will when the trilogy is published. Like when book 3 is really done, I'm gonna go read some of that fan. But I love when people write fanfic and they create fan art. And when, you know, whatever they do in that way, because essentially they're creating these, you know, alternate universes and these bonus materials that I can't do. You know, especially the racy stuff. So, you know, like but I love it. It's like the heart of fandom, and like I'm really happy that stuff exists.
Okay, I'm bringing up Elena now.
If you had a theme song when you walk into a room, what would it?
Oh my god. I'm only saying this because this came on the radio like as I was driving home. I'm going with Back in Black by AC/DC. Also because I kind of feel like that would be the Darkwind's theme song. So no, I'm not gonna sing it. I'm not gonna sing that. Speaking of AC/DC, so I've been debating like this one character that I'm working on, this new project, and And his theme song, pretty sure, is ABC too. I'm trapped in some kind of weird, like, 1982 time warp, I think.
I'm surprised it's not Stevie Nicks, though.
I wish that I could claim one of Stevie's songs as a, like, I wish that Rhiannon started playing when I walked into a room, but I'm just not that witchy.
Just like automatically, like the wind is blowing your hair.
That's right. Like, I would just be like, there's a fan right there. I should just go stand in front of it. Oh, another question.
Do you have any casting ideas for Alina or the Darkling?
Besides Channing Tatum.
Yeah, besides Channing Tatum, who you so sadly rejected.
No Channing Tatum! I am really not at liberty to talk about. Here's the problem. If I name somebody and then they don't cast that person, here's the problem. Which chances are they won't, because everybody I know is too old to play one of these characters. If I name somebody, then whoever doesn't get cast are going to be like, well, you know, that's not who the author wanted, or that person doesn't look anything like that person. So I try to avoid that.
Well, thank you, Leigh, for your time and for your books.
Yay! Thanks for reading.
Yeah.
And thanks for dealing with the crazy glitchy technology.
I know, right? Well, thanks, everybody. And next month, Wikia Book Club, we're going to be reading The Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson. Get some new readers into the Percy Jackson series. So join us at Wikia. Thanks again. Bye.
Thanks.